Welcome back to the podcast. And today we have a very, very special guest. We have Minesweeper. If you want to introduce yourself, I think you would probably do a better job.
Okay, sure. Yeah, what's up, guys? I'm Minesweeper. I am just a Deadlock player. I just know a little bit about the game. I got a couple friends that are pretty high up in the ranks there at Valve. So I don't know, I guess a good way to describe myself, I'm a motion graphics editor, connoisseur, kind of jack of all trades. I do a little bit of work in esports, played games my whole life. Deadlock is probably my newest addiction for the last year. I've just about put in 1,000 hours, which I've not done in a game in a long time, probably since Rocket League, all the way back in 2020, 2021.
Yeah.
I haven't felt this way about a game in a while, so I guess you could say I'm pretty passionate about it. And that's reflected in my presence online.
Oh, yeah. You do have a massive presence in Deadlock community. I know the community is still very small and still growing, but yeah, again, a lot of people look at you. I think you're probably the only leaker that actually is 100% accurate when it comes to the online scene, when it comes to Deadlock. But I do have if we want to get started into it, I was actually very curious. So I know you said you know some people in the Valve community, and I wanted to know, was questioning, I think this is a pretty decent question to ask. Do you think that Valve has started putting more resources into Deadlock and more care compared to their other products, such as Dota 2, TF2, and Counter-Strike as their other IPs? Do you think that they started seeing Deadlock as their main attention?
Yeah, so I think the consensus on this is pretty much that CS2 has about 2 devs at this point.
Yeah.
And Deadlock being the first original IP that Valve has worked on in a long time, because Dota is a StarCraft mod, I think it was, or something like that. I'm not into Dota. And CS being also another IP pickup from another company, obviously 20 years ago, but still. A lot of the developers are more passionate about getting the freedom to work on something with a new IP and creative freedoms, and just being able to actually create their own universe for once, for the first time in 20 years. With the resounding success of Half-Life 2, I think they're working on Half-Life X. I have no comments on that, but that's a rumor that's floating around. So I think most of their team is on that Half-Life X HLX project. The validity of that rumor is not something that I can confirm, especially because I don't think I've ever I haven't seen gameplay of it. I haven't heard anything about it other than these text-based rumors. Mm-hmm. But it is definitely their single-player love child besides Portal. And so I think once HLX gets cleared up, whether it's real or not, or assuming it is real once it gets released, 90% or more of their resources are going to be towards Deadlock.
Okay. So it is the concept, because you see the community and how much love it shows for the game, because it sees some major updates. They're surprisingly very communicative. They're very good at responding to people when it comes to Deadlock, compared to the big consensus of CS devs not really talking to even the highest pros, and even their goats considered, they're not really talking to them. But when it comes to Deadlock, in even in the Discord, they're just messaging them back, be oh yeah, hey, we're working on this or this. They recently brought the Risk of Rain 2 devs, the original devs, to it, so that was a massive pickup regarding that. With all these devs and all these talking points and all these major updates, do you have an idea of how close Deadlock is to fully release, as in, instead of it being in beta or alpha, fully released to the public?
That's a good question. With Valve, you don't really know what a finished product is to them. If you look at Dota 2 and the way that it was developed, it was in alpha for 3 years. And there was it's not like a Marvel Rivals situation where they have a play test, and then they give you a date, and then the game is done, and now you can play it. A 1.0 to Valve isn't necessarily a finished product. They sort of just, like a gradient rather than a black and white. They sort of just add stuff over time until it's to a point where they feel they're comfortable showing it off to the public. I think that comes with some other modes, because they really want this game to be big. So Street Brawl I mentioned a lot.
Yeah. Ranked
is another one. There's a third mode that I shouldn't talk about, but you can kind of guess what it is based on the company being Valve. And so those are, I think, needed for the retention that they want to deliver with open beta and a 1.0 release. Right now, we just have our play Deadlock mode because at the end of the day, it is a playtest. It's a closed alpha. When we go into open beta, I'd say probably summer of 2026 is my best estimate, given what they're working on right now. Before it used to be, I was told that it was actually Q1 2026, like in a couple of months.
Yeah.
They've pushed that back as of now because they've expanded their scope to work on multiple game modes to really include, like the casual player base as well as the super diehard ranked tryhard player base, which they've captured before with Dota 2.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen it with that because they sometimes come in and it's pretty interesting that they're coming out with so many different patch or game modes and stuff. And do you think it's because of delays they went from Q1 of 2026 to summer of 2026, or is it because they just want to make sure everything is like polished more than anything? Because I know Valve likes to, it's not a bad thing, of course, it's a very good thing, but they like to take their time and really like make sure everything is good. Is it because of delays, because they're scared that the game mode might not be fun, or is it more just like they want to make sure everything is polished?
So, I mean, initially, I don't think they had the vision for Street Brawl or the other mode that I talked about. I think they just had the ranked idea. And because they expanded their scope to include feedback from, like lesser skilled players that were just like, oh, I don't, I have a 9 to 5, I don't want to try hard, I don't want to learn all these items. They're focusing on providing a more casual experience for those guys. So there's that. And then the other thing that you have to consider is Valve, especially in North America, I think, is the number one, you could be wrong, don't quote me on this, number one GP per capita for a company in terms of like how much money they make versus the number of employees. You look at Riot Games, which is like 3,000 or something like that, or Microsoft, and these are high market cap companies, but they have way higher employee counts. I think Valve is like 342 employees for how much they're making with two very profitable esports and then like a network of other like single player games, Portal and Half-Life. So they have all the resources in the world and they have all the time in the world. Like they could not update Dota 2 and CS for another 10 years and still make so much money off those two titles alone. So they're not in any rush whatsoever. If they feel like the product needs a delay, there's no chance that they won't delay it.
Okay, so they're not really, it seems like they're not really competing with other companies. They're trying to really compete with themselves for the most part, because they don't really care. For example, I know like when Valorant came out, like I know they kind of like, in a way, it felt like CS2 was rushed, but it was never like, when it came out with updates and everything, they took their time. They never really. So do you think they see like other companies as a challenge, or is it more just like, is it more motivation for themselves? Because it seems like a lot of people complain that like, oh, Dota 2 and CS, they're not getting the urgency updates compared to what Riot does with League and Valorant.
I mean, obviously they have an understanding of their player base, but I think that Valve is one of the last companies that cares about what you think and when you think an update is deserved.
So it's more of just like what they care about.
They're too rich to care.
Is that would you consider that more like a bad thing or like a good thing? And that
I think it's a good thing. Yeah, I don't like in essence, like they should obviously listen to their player base, but to an extent, especially when you're pushing deadlines and that's harming your developers and they're having to work like overtime. Valve is not that kind of company. Valve is, they do like bi-yearly vacations to Hawaii paid for by Gabe, that's not really a question for them.
Okay. Yeah. It's more just like they're the cool dad that is barely there, but when he's there, he's pretty cool.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I want to talk about a little bit when it comes to Deadlock. So I know the big thing is when it comes to Dota 2 and CS, there's a lot of skin, and the skin market is massive in those two games. Do you think that we will eventually get it, or are we close to getting like permanent skins that we can buy and unbox in Deadlock, or would that be more of like a summer 2026, like you said, would we get it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they have it would be ridiculous for them to start making skins now when nothing is finalized. But it looks like we're getting close to a final version of the map. The next update is planned to have like interior reworks and stuff like that. So map effects, like the ones that they have in Dota, where you can like change the time of day or like the theme of the building, stuff like that. They're definitely going to be selling those. They're a really hot item in Dota. We already had skins, in the last Christmas update. So it's possible. I don't think it's their focus until all the characters are complete. So, it's up to what you want to think. I don't know about 1.0 being summer 2026, so I can't really say that the skins will come with 1.0 or they'll come at a certain date, but it's obvious that this isn't going to be a paid game. Like it's gonna the primary marketing for this game is going to be battle pass, skins, economy type of thing.
So it's going to be a battle pass. There is going to be like the skin market and all that stuff, but not even if they make it open beta or open for everybody in summer 2026, doesn't mean it's going to come out then. It'll just be like it's just a matter of the updates and the game modes that will be out those days.
Yeah, again, like they're not worried about making money off this game anytime soon. They have so much money. They have an income stream that a lot of companies wish they'd have. So their priority, I think they're one of the last priorities is starting to sell microtransactions. Like they want the game to be finished is what they're focused on. So
they care more about the product than actually making their money back because money is not an issue to them.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's really, really good to hear from that sense. If so far there has been a lot, I mean, the community is already growing. There's a lot of people getting into the game. There's a lot of new content creators getting into the game. There's also I don't know, you can call it a esports scene. It's very small, but the Deadlock night shift. I wanted to know, like, is Valve aware of what they're doing? And what do you, if your own personal like opinion on it, what do you think about the esports scene so far, if you want to call it, that's in the game?
Yeah, I mean, Night Shift is doing a great job, and they're pulling viewership numbers that I wouldn't even expect out of a closed alpha. So huge props to those guys. Whether you want to call it an esports scene is interesting because I mean we don't really have orgs. It's less about an esports team or esports scene and more of like scrims at this point. Scrims for money between like the teams are getting changed up weekly. Like they throw D-Mob out and they bring Hoot in, and then like Abraham's 1 week will look completely different. So it's good that they're practicing and it's good that they're laying a foundation. I wouldn't call it an esports scene yet until we start seeing like $100,000 majors in a big tournament, ESL style. I would say that's coming. But I mean, I just had a conversation with Deathy today about it. Really, I wouldn't expect to see big tournaments for at least 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, I think also like even post post launch, I think it's gonna take some time. Even to be honest with you, it's I think I don't. You could also correct me on this. I think it's hard for orgs to even invest in the Deadlock. I think it's too early. Even just putting content creators in there, it's still not. It's still hard to put viewers and numbers in it because a lot of people are still very iffy about the game. You hear someone like Shroud hype it up every time it's mentioned, as like this game will break everything, like, records. It will bring a lot of competition. A lot of MOBAs are going to really be scared when this game fully comes out. So it's bringing a lot of community members, and I wanted to know, like, what was your opinion on how do you feel about the community so far? And it's growing every single day.
I think it's cool. A lot of the games I played growing up didn't really have a big community, so I really like when everyone knows each other and you can just say a name and be like, oh yeah, I know that guy, we were friends, we played on this team or whatever. So I think that's super cool. There's a lot of drama that goes on. Stuff happens. I think we kind of got to stick together because at the end of the day, it's just like 30K people that really care about this game right now.
Yeah.
And the majority of those are just guests. They watch the content, they don't participate in it. So it's down in a really small group. We stick together. We know we shouldn't be like harming each other. We just support each other's careers. There's some bad actors out there, but like at the end of the day, I think the people that are here now are going to be, at the forefront of the community when the game takes off. And I say when, not if.
Yeah, of course. I think, Valve is building something very beautiful here. With a lot of the community members. I mean, so far from what I'm seeing, there hasn't been any real, like, any threats to the community to make it look in a bad sense. I know, I joke, but, I say, like, there's a lot of bad actors, like, a lot of bad actors in the CS community, and I also come from Valorant, so there's a lot of bad actors over there. But so far, Deadlock has shown something that's really good, and like you mentioned, only 30K people really care about the game so far. But again, it could also grow over time. I do want to ask, more about yourself. You said you played a lot of Rocket League when you grew up and stuff. Did you also like I know you leak a lot, or a lot of leaks and a lot of information behind the scenes. Did you ever do that with any other game, or was this like a first game you really did that with?
I have some friends that were leakers themselves for other games. Really, the only game that I cared about enough pre-release was the finals. So I had my run-ins with the Embark team. My friend group used to blow up that game. We'd find game-breaking bugs. We even have like an Easter egg, the I don't know, the dematerializer, I think it is. That's like a tier 5 charm that you get, and they put that little Easter egg in for my group based on like a bug we found. So I thought that was pretty cool. I really liked that game in its like alpha stages, beta stages, so I was pretty like in tune with the development of it. I didn't like the direction they went in, unfortunately, after release, so I kind of stopped and fell out of love with it. And like a lot of us from that scene did pivot to Deadlock because it was more competitive oriented, like Piggy, Listic, I think Situation maybe as well. A couple other pros, like a lot of us are like ex-finals players. So, Rocket League was just like a game I played growing up, from 2016 to about 2021. But it's not something that I was like leaking, in contact with Soundex or anything with.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I played a lot of the finals. That was really fun when they first came out in the beta and all that stuff. So I think that game was really, really fun. I mean, I think the game is a little bit better now. I've seen it gain more popularity now. But I was also going to ask a question. So you see how when Valorant came out, a lot of pros from different games came to it, and then everyone had their own spin to it. Do you think that what do you think about the when it fully comes out and it's fully established? Do you think a lot of people are going to pivot? A lot of pros are going to pivot to that game, such as what do you think the best scene is going to dominate in Deadlock?
Yeah, I mean, this game's really unique, but it is a combination of a lot of familiar games. So we're gonna see League pros and Dota pros that happen to have good aim, and their skills are gonna correlate pretty easily as soon as they learn the macro. We're gonna see like Fortnite players, like Young Calc, and I feel like there's a couple others that are just really good with their character on the left side of the screen and a crosshair in the middle. It just takes a certain level of brain power to just learn the timings and things like that in macro. But besides that, I mean, if you have mechanical skill and you have good team play and you're able to communicate well, I think that the pro scene is open right now, especially being so early for a lot of players to come through. What's going to be a bit harder is pros from other games seeing the 1.0 release and then having to compete with people like Listic, Dmov, Ranger, and all these like Goober people that have 3,000 hours already. It's probably going to form into like a tier 2 scene for them, and then they're not going to be as interested to play in a tier 2 scene when they're used to playing tier 1. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. We'll see how many of these pros from right now even continue to play into 1.0, as some of them are getting like fed up. People like Ido don't really want to contribute to like DNS if there's no real reward to playing other than just like $1,000 here and there. When we see larger prize pools, big tournaments, orgs signing up for, signing rosters and things like that, I think we'll see a little bit of a meta shift in that sense. But right now, it's on its side and we're not sure.
Yeah. I think it's again, yeah, we spoke about this a little bit before, but it's hard for orgs to invest it because you saw the Virtus Pro for like a bit. They invested into it, but then they just dropped the roster. People were also very confused in the beginning, like, why are you investing into a game that is not even close to being finished, especially not even from a couple years from now. I think it is really hard for orgs to invest into the game. Also, I know you also say that, you have a lot of friends in the Valve and you know a lot. What do you personally want to see in Deadlock in the near future?
Yeah, near future being like less than a year.
I would say within a year, yeah. Within a year's time at least.
So it looks like what they're going for right now is to just make the next Fortnite. Like, they want a game so big that it is bigger than everything they've ever made before. And I say that because of these casual game modes that they're working on. We're taking stuff that's wildly popular, like roguelites. What's the one that just came out?
Hades 2?
No. There was like a silly one that everyone was playing.
Oh, Mage Punk.
Shroud. Megabonk. That's
Megabonk. Yeah.
Yeah. We're taking genres like that. We're throwing them in ARAM. Like League's half of League's population plays ARAM. Yeah. Or like Marvel Rivals type modes where there's like a control point or like a thing to push.
So we're taking all of that
casual. Yeah, so that's like what the focus is right now into 2026 is taking this hyper competitive formula that I really like personally, and then making it accessible to people that are used to just simpler game modes, and taking the fluid gameplay that we have, the great performance of Source 2, the uniqueness of the characters and all of these things. I think it's like it's done what Overwatch did in 2016, just in a more adult way. And it's kind of, as we grew up and we saw Overwatch, we're like, okay, Overwatch is kind of cringe now. Here comes Valve, and they've kind of innovated on this formula where the characters are, they're more mature. They're still cartoony, but like they swear at each other. They have relationships with each other. I think it's great that the way that they're handling it. And so in that sense, I think that they have potential to make literally the biggest game of the 2020s. With these new casual game modes, and then also enforcing things like Steam Learn, their little optional tracking data that they've been adding to the game files for the last couple months to see, like, are you running Earn, are you healing your teammates, to provide value for your ranked score. And we're going to get probably the best iteration of like a ranked MOBA we've ever seen when that comes out, just the way that it tracks all of the factors that you contribute to the game besides just your KD and your win-loss, So all of those together, I think that it's actually going to come together probably, early to late 2026, and we're just going to see something that's really awesome.
Yeah. I think, like you said, I think a lot of pros or a lot of streamers also say they never say anything like really bad when it comes to Deadlock, even in its current state. Yes, it's a closed beta, but there is just too much potential with this, especially with Valve, because again, technically Valve has never created CS, but they've innovated it and they've improved upon it. I think also what's funny is I like to see you see those videos where people are like, oh, Valve revolutionized the gaming industry, but I feel like it's more of just like they just do things correctly. Would you also agree in that sense? More just like they just know what to do and they're doing it correctly and they know their audience.
Yeah, I mean, part of that stems from the fact that Valve's like dev team model is really unique. They send people to whatever team they want to work on, right? So if you feel like working on CS one week, and you can work on CS. If you want to work on Deadlock, you can work on Deadlock. And I think that's where that success stems from. It's the fact that they lead their own teams. They don't have to report to like stakeholders in like an Activision type of way where you have like Infinity Ward wants to make a certain game, Treyarch wants to make a certain game, but they're like competing for which IP goes where. Do I get to work on Black Ops? Can I, enforce a certain type of movement? Will there be skill-based matchmaking? All of that is left to the internal Valve team. There's a project leader like Yoshi or leaders, and they can decide all of those parameters themselves. So I think that's where we get that type of freedom to express themselves and make a game that they believe is good.
Yeah, I like how you speak about it. Like, there's so much freedom within the company. Like how you said, there's one week where you can work on CS, and then the other week you can work on Deadlock. Like back to the first question, I asked is like, do you think a lot of the devs are like, man, it's more fun to work on Deadlock than to try to fix CS, and then with the community, being very aggressive on their fixes? Is it like, do the developers see the community? Do they are they active on social media? I know they're not posting, but do they actively stroll through social media, through the Reddits, through all that, and do they see a lot of the complaints? Or is it more like, no, we want to work, we know what we need to fix on, so we're not listening to social media people?
Yeah, I mean, not all of the Valve guys have Twitter and stuff like that. A lot of them are just like LinkedIn demons and they do their work. But that's not to say that like IceFrog doesn't have a Twitter. Like IceFrog has a Twitter. We know he has a Twitter. And we know he probably reads Twitter too. They interact on the forums, which is pretty rare for Valve. A lot of the heroes and a lot of the heroes coming up and a lot of the heroes that we received with the 6 Heroes update, those were community ideas. Like Doorman. Doorman was a community idea. They read those concepts. They're appreciative of it. They go in, they refine, they do an art pass, and then they give us a finished product, which I think is so cool. The fact that this, despite being a 30,000 player playtest, still feels like we have an impact on the game, and they definitely take that to heart.
Oh, okay. I mean, that's good to hear. I know, like, it's kind of a lot of people I know in the community, in other games, you see the devs are always on Twitter, always talking on Twitter and all that stuff. But it's always Valve is that mysterious company that just reads but never interacts. But they also, when they want to, they can fix stuff. It's always funny, the meme that Gabe Newell has never went to a CS major, but he's always active on Dota. Would we say, or if you can know this, do you think that Gabe would be more involved also and be more physically present or vocally present when it comes to Deadlock because of so much attention it's getting, so much resources it's getting on, and so much love it's getting?
I mean, Gabe has been with Valve for like 20, 30 years. So at this point, I doubt that he cares as much as he cared when, in like the 2000s. But I do know that when like the August 2024 craze was going on and all the streamers wanted their hands on a key, you could just email Gabe and he would give you a key, which I think is cool. He just likes his boats, man. I mean, he's on his boat, he's on his yacht. He tunes in and he helps out, but I don't think that he's a critical role. I think he kind of just observes. And they have his blessing to work on it more than they do with CS.
Yeah. It's always fun to see because a lot of people's thinking like, oh, CS is the middle child when like Valve doesn't really care about it, but Deadlock is their youngest kid where now they're putting so much attention to it. It's again, it shows with the updates too, and it shows the community, because I've never seen Valve so active when it comes onto the Discord, to the forums, because I've submitted stuff on the forums and I had a dev reply with, okay, we'll fix that. And it's like very refreshing to see when that happens, because it not only makes you appreciative, I think that it's also makes you want to play the game more, want to see more things you can fix on it. It shows us there's a lot of love to the game, and what Valve is building, again, like you said, they want to make this into the next Fortnite, one of the biggest games ever. And with what's seeing now, it's kind of insane. I wanted to wrap up the rest of it. I wanted to wrap up one more thing. How hard do you think it is to get a Valve dev on the podcast?
Yeah. Good luck. I think you can get Valve adjacent people, but and I was speaking about this with the guys from G World and about like the Intel Deadlock page, like would it be possible? Your best bet with Valve is literally to just walk in the Seattle office and see if they give you a tour, if they want to talk to you. Getting a guy online is difficult. There are people that have the trust of Valve, and you kind of have to work your way up there. Like Gabe Follower could have a guy from Valve on his podcast, but I think your best shot to be at least adjacent to someone from Valve is like Tyler or Gabe Follower, and having them on. I feel like they're pretty far along with the development of Deadlock, and they're pretty aware of what's going on. They do talk to the devs. So, I mean, I think Gabe Follower is a mod in the Deadlock Discord. So, they're pretty official in that sense.
Okay, yeah. I figured, to be honest with you. I feel like, I've had, Riot devs on, I've had Riot employees on the podcast. It was very easy, but I was like, man, it would be really cool to just have like a Valve dev, even though if he's like a minor role in it, it would be pretty cool, but I definitely understand. I know, so wrapping everything up, I do want to ask, is there anything you want to say here for the first time that hasn't been publicly said about Deadlock, or is there anything you want to leave a message on regarding Deadlock that people want to know about?
I mean, yeah, let me take a look. I have a list actually of things that I'm yet to post. I hope it's not reflected in my glasses.
This podcast,
okay.
We're recording on Saturday. This won't be posted till next Saturday. So I just wanted to let you know. So not till a week from now. So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff coming in the next update that we'll see in probably like December. Keep your eye out for like lane reworks, because they're doing like a full map overhaul right now. I think that's what they're targeting for release in December. So like a full, because they've solidified that 3 lanes is better than 4 lanes is pretty much what it is. So they're going to go ahead and stamp on assets and uniquefy sort of all the gray rooms that you see in them around the map, the same way that mid-boss was a gray pit, and then they converted that to the little super room. So they're going to do that all over the map, and I think that's going to look pretty cool. I've seen some screenshots, very, very low res, whatever people can grab, and they send them to me. But like, think just for example, if you want to know what it's going to look like, think about what it should look like according to the lore. Like, Blue Lane is called Broadway, so it's going to look like Broadway. It's going to have theaters and, flashing lights and stuff like that. So just use your imagination. It's not long, especially if this goes up next Saturday. I mean, it's not going to be probably less than a month from that point. So, yeah.
Oh, appreciate it. Thank you, Minesweeper. I appreciate you coming on. Your insight really kind of opened my eyes with how much the Valve really does care. They might not show it online, but they do really care about their products. And even Gabe, he's basically half retired, but he still cares about the company. He cares about the community. Yeah. I appreciate it. Is there anything else you want to plug in right before we end it? You want to plug in Twitter handles? Anything you want to announce? You're more than welcome to.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm going to start streaming on Twitch, so twitch.tv/Minesweeper. We're going to talk probably live soon after this update, or maybe before if we get another leak week with more photos. I feel like just getting a live hands-on, as the leaks come in, talk about them immediately. It's going to be a cool community experience. We're going to have a bunch of people talk on it. It's going to be exciting. It's going to feel like a Wall Street trading floor.
Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you, Minesweeper, and thank you guys for watching. Check out Minesweeper on Twitter. He's going to be streaming, of course. Everything will be in the link down below. So if you want to check out all his socials, everything will be in the below. And thank you guys for watching. Appreciate it. Goodbye.